What if I told you that the secret to attracting high performers isn't about big budgets or fancy perks? In fact, it's something that business leaders and hiring managers completely overlook. Do you want to know what it is? Well, then stick around because today we're going to talk about what it takes to attract top talent in 2025. Welcome back. I'm Kelly Stine, a Gallup-Certified Strengths Coach and the founder of the Leading Light Coach. And before we dive in, I have a free guide with strength-based tips that I'm covering today, as well as some additional insights, all of which are evidence-based strategies for attracting and retaining talent for high-performing teams. I'll tell you how you can get that at the end of the video, so stick around. Now, over the years, I've worked with small business owners and hiring managers on how to build up their teams. I've been in roles where I was tasked with spotting and recommending talent for teams, and I've been a team member on high-performing teams myself. So I've kind of had a 360 view on what attracting and hiring talent looks like, and I've seen what works, and I've seen what definitely does not work. So today, I want to share some of my personal observations, as well as what the research is telling us about attracting and hiring top talent. So first, here are some key traits that I've personally observed in high-performing teams that I've worked with and on. First up, the organizations I've worked with that were great at attracting top talent knew why they existed. The leaders of those teams were crystal clear on the vision, the mission, and the values of the organization, and they made sure that everybody else was aware of them as well. They put it everywhere. They put it in the brand choices, they put it on posters on the wall, they put it in onboarding materials, they talked about it in team meetings. That kind of clarity works like a talent magnet. People who weren't great fits in these organizations eventually opted out, while high performers and talented people who weren't on the team often sought out jobs within the team, even when there weren't positions posted. The reason why, I think, was because it was so obvious what the organization stood for that it allowed people to opt in and opt out really easily. The second thing I observed was that the leadership on all these high performing teams was very present. They were really visible and they were very involved. Those leaders checked in with the team members both as a group, but also in one-on-one sessions. They showed up to off-site events. They invited team members over to their house for holiday parties and events. They participated in the interviewing process, and they played an active role in the team members' development. So these leaders were a constant presence within the organization. And the funny thing is, in some of those cases, the leader's presence wasn't even necessarily wanted. I can think of one leader who was quite intimidating and intense, but their visibility still kept everybody very engaged and the bar set really high for that team. Now, on the flip side, I've seen organizations where the quality of hires dropped over time. And while there were a lot of factors that were in play, one big shift I noticed in some of those instances was that the leader became less involved and less visible. And then the final thing that I'll talk about here about what stood out about these high performing teams was how they developed and retained talent on the team. All of these teams made it a point to invest in their people. Some of the organizations offered development for free. Others charged employees for on-site programs, and some even paid for off-site opportunities. In my observation, it didn't really matter whether employees had to pay or not pay for the development. It seemed that what mattered was just that the opportunities were there. When organizations prioritized growth and learning, talent came, stayed, and stayed engaged. On the flip side of that, when some of those high-performing teams started to struggle to attract talent, a common thread was that the development programs that had been in place disappeared. So these are just a couple of things that I personally noticed about high-performing teams. So now let's shift gears and talk about what Gallup recommends for attracting high performers to your team. And I think you're going to see a little bit of overlap. First, build a strength-based, purpose-driven culture. I mentioned earlier that the high-performing teams I've worked with all knew why they existed, and Gallup research backs that that is in fact a key factor. But there's more to it than just having a clear purpose. Creating a strength-based culture takes it to the next level. In a strength-based culture, team members are encouraged to discover and develop their natural talents using tools like the CliftonStrengths assessment and the CliftonStrengths talent themes. This framework helps individuals understand their unique contributions to the bigger picture. It connects the dots between what they do every day and how it feeds into the organization's mission. When talented people can clearly see how their strengths align with and drive the mission forward, they become so much more engaged and motivated. Second, ensure leadership engages and develops their team. If you're the manager, stay engaged, visible, and involved with your team. That's critical. If you're leading the managers, your role in that case is to equip them with the tools and the development they need to hold meaningful check ins, give clear feedback, and recognize their team members frequently. Your goal is to create and maintain an environment where people feel supported both emotionally, physically, as well as socially. Engaged leadership doesn't just help retain talent, it also helps you spot potential issues early on so that you can address them before they turn into bigger problems that ultimately then can drive talent away. And then finally, invest in employee growth and well being. Make sure that you're offering career development opportunities, mentorship, and training. Talented candidates unanimously want to grow. They want to be challenged and they want to develop in ways that align with their career aspirations as well as their natural talents. When it comes to recognizing and rewarding contributions, make it meaningful to each individual. Understanding their talents and strengths gives you the insight to do this in a way that really resonates for each person. So at this point, you might be wondering, what is the first step to building a high performing team? The first step is to start by assessing the team that you already have. You can do that by using employee surveys like Gallup's Q12, or you can keep it simple by just having regular casual conversations with your team members. Get a sense of what's working for them and what's not working for them. You can focus on questions like, how well do they understand the organization's mission and purpose? Do they feel the organization's actions align with what it stands for? Oftentimes, there is a gap between what's promised and what is experienced by the team members or customers. How engaged do they think leadership is, and how effective are those engagements? And what opportunities do they want for growth and development? And do they feel that they can achieve those within the organization? The key takeaway here, if you get nothing else from this video, is that I hope that you understand that attracting talent requires intentionality. It's not going to happen by accident or happenstance. It's something that you have to make happen on purpose. And in order to do that, you need to first understand and clearly communicate your organization's purpose, ensure that leadership is present and making a positive impact on team members, and create an environment where people feel valued, supported, and challenged to grow in meaningful ways. The cool part is that when you focus on strengths and creating a strength-based culture, you naturally hit all three of those things. Now, if this video or the tips resonated with you, then you're going to love the Strength-Based Leaders Playbook for attracting top talent. It's a clear step-by-step roadmap for using strength-based strategies to attract talent and build high-performing teams. Click the link in the video description below to grab your free copy today. And thanks for hanging out with me. If you found this helpful, hit that like button, subscribe, and drop a comment below. I would love to hear your thoughts on the topic I talked about today or any additional topics you would like me to touch on. Let's keep the conversation going, and I'll see you next time.